The PHLY Phillies podcast, as always, brought to you by our friends over at Bet365. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Use the promo code PHLY365. Deposit just $10. Place your first bet for $5. There it is, flashing up in the corner for you. That code is PHLY365. Deposit 10, place 5. Get $150 back in bonus bets, whether your bet wins or loses. Find out why it's never ordinary at Bet365. Hello to you all and a happy Friday. We've made it to another end of a work week as we are getting closer and closer to the Major League Baseball trade deadline. Tyler Zulli here with you. Andrew Frazier as well. We'll talk to Andrew in just a little bit. We're here with you for the next hour. And again, a wonderful weekend to you coming up shortly. I hope you are excited for another, what should be beautiful summer weekend. And maybe it's not going to be as hot as it is today because it's like, surface of the sun level hot today. But hopefully this weekend's a little bit nicer as we get closer and closer and closer to the trade deadline. Some news right off the rip before we get into today's show. Mark Feinzan reported that another trade has happened across Major League Baseball. The New York Mets are acquiring former Philly and left-handed reliever Gregory Soto from the Baltimore Orioles. The Mets will send Wellington Aracena, I apologize, I don't know the player, and Cameron Foster in exchange to the Orioles for Gregory Soto. Real quick, let's take a look at Soto's numbers before we dive into the meat of today's show. Soto, he's pitched pretty well this year so far. Sub-4 ERA, I mean, I say pretty well. It's probably a little bit relative. The 3.96 ERA, he's kind of been the Gregory Soto that you've come to know and expect. A little bit more than a strikeout per inning, 44 strikeouts and 36 and a third. The whip is high because the control at times for Gregory Soto is it falters. Like back on the 22nd, his second to last appearance, he walked 3 in an inning, gave up 5 base runners in that inning. Sometimes he pitches well. 2 strikeouts in a perfect inning the other night. Or last night, in fact, against the Cleveland Guardians. So you kind of know that the pitcher that Gregory Soto is, when Soto's on, he's got some really nasty stuff, good power fastball, good breaking ball. But we've seen a lot of times here when Soto is not on, the command becomes an issue. He walks some hitters, he gets into trouble, and then he's got to come back into the zone. And that's where he ends up getting hit around a little bit. So a sub-4 ERA for a guy who has a above 4 ERA throughout his career. Last year posted a 4.42 ERA in time split between the Phillies and the Orioles. Good luck to you, Mets. I know that you need a bullpen help with a little bit of the injury bug plaguing the Mets bullpen a little bit. But good luck to you. When he's on, he's great. When he's not, he's really, really bad. So for your sake, you're hoping that you get the good Gregory Soto more than the bad. But we've seen the bad Gregory Soto here quite a bit over a 2-year tenure. But let's get into the meat of today's show, which is that the opening salvo has been fired. Now we see another trade, of course, but the opening salvo has been fired of the hot stove portion of the trade deadline. As we've talked about in the past, there are a handful of teams that need to decide what kind of team they are going to be. Are they going to be buyers? Are they going to be sellers? Are they going to do very little and stand pat and hope that their team is good enough to make a run down the stretch and push them across the finish line to a wild card or a division victory? One of those teams that we were kind of unsure of as to what they were going to be was the Arizona Diamondbacks. And at 50-50, the Arizona Diamondbacks have been plagued with injuries this season. Their pitching specifically has taken a huge hit over the last couple of weeks. Obviously, it started with losing Corbin Burns for the year. Jordan Montgomery has missed time. I believe they've lost time to Ryan Nelson. I forget who else, but they're. Oh, and then you talk about their bullpen, right? AJ Puck has missed the rest of the year, a bulk of the year, missing the rest of the year. Justin Martinez, their closer, missing a ton of time. They have had a slew of injuries, especially to their pitching staff. And we weren't quite sure what the Arizona Diamondbacks were going to be, because if you would have told me that a team that was this talented offensively was going to become buyers at the deadline and try to go get a starting pitcher, try to get a Joe Ryan, a Sandy Alcantara, an Edward Cabrera, a Mackenzie Gore even type of pitcher, I would have believed you. And if you'd have told me that the plan was that they were going to be maybe sellers at the deadline, I would have believed you with the guys that were on expiring deals. And the first one to go, of course, is Josh Naylor, who was sent to the Seattle Mariners in exchange for 2 prospects. Arizona, again, needs pitching in a bad way. I know that Naylor's on the final year of his deal. This feels like it was a little bit light. Naylor is a power bat who moves from a non-power hitting park to a non-power hitting park, unless you're Cal Raleigh, of course, moving from Arizona to Seattle. But he's got 11 home runs this year, 50-plus RBI. It's been a good year for him. He's a subpar defender this season, but Seattle recognized that it needed another power bat next to Cal Raleigh, and so they went and acquired Josh Naylor. Now, with that being said, Seattle's made it pretty clear they may not be done, and they may continue to press, and that might include to try their best to go and make another deal with the Arizona Diamondbacks and acquire third baseman Eugenio Suarez. And we're going to talk about him in just a second, but from our sister station, PHNX, our buddy Derek Montilla, who's been on the show before, did an emergency podcast after the Josh Naylor news broke. He talked about the Josh Naylor trade, but he also talked about the pathway that the Arizona Diamondbacks are going to take. And he is about a minute-long clip. I want to hear from Derek himself, a man that is locked into the team much more than I and Andrew and you, and hear what he had to say about this move and what it might signify for the Arizona Diamondbacks. Here's our buddy Derek Montilla from the PHNX Diamondbacks podcast.
Though, does really feel like it signals the beginning of the Diamondbacks starting just an absolute fire sale. And when I say that, I think, we just spoke on today's show. Jesse Friedman from Snakes Territory stopped by, and we chatted about, the possibility that the Diamondbacks could trade maybe 2 of these guys, maybe at the most 3, but you have a hard time believing that they were going to trade all 4 of these major pieces that they have on expiring contracts. Not to mention, you also have Shelby Miller and Jalen Beeks also on expiring contracts. And, again, it while it's tantalizing to try to get as much in a return as possible, the Diamondbacks still need to field a Major League Baseball team this season. But I do think that the Diamondbacks, may have been able to get something a little bit more for Josh Naylor. But I do hope that if they end up trading Geno Suarez, that the return is more significant than this.
So there's our buddy Derek Montilla from the PHNX Diamondbacks podcast. And really what I wanted you to hear was that opening statement, which made it sound like he thinks, and a lot of Diamondbacks fans think, that this is not the only move that the Diamondbacks are going to make. And I think what that means is there's a very likely scenario that the Diamondbacks are and by the way, the 4 that he was mentioning were Josh Naylor, who's been moved, Zach Gallen, who's been talked about a lot as an impending free agent, Merrill Kelly, the same thing, impending free agent at the end of the year, Jordan Montgomery, who obviously is injured, so they're not going to move Jordan Montgomery, but the other one being Eugenio Suarez. And that's kind of where we're going to begin today's Phillies portion of this conversation. We have talked about Eugenio Suarez quite a bit. And the 2 things that Derek brought up were, first and foremost, it feels like a fire sale may be happening in Arizona, specifically with the players that are impending free agents. And the second thing is, he feels like that maybe Arizona could have gotten a little bit more from Josh Naylor, but recognized that they were in desperate need of pitching depth. And the one thing that we didn't hear in that clip right there, but he went on to say, one of the players that the Diamondbacks acquired in the deal has major league experience. And that, to me, was the biggest tell of this Eugenio Suarez thing. And that, to me, was the biggest connector. And maybe I'm playing a little bit of whisper down the lane hypothetical. But that, to me, was the biggest connector that could potentially piece the Diamondbacks and the Phillies together. And the reason I say that is, if they're looking for major league ready, young, controllable contract pitchers, Andrew, who does that sound like?
I don't know, Tyler. Who does it sound like?
Sounds like they're looking for a guy like Mick Abel.
Oh.
And now I'm going to say this. I'm going to put two statements, 2 caveats out there to this conversation. First and foremost, I do not believe the Phillies acquire Eugenio Suarez. Second, I believe that Eugenio Suarez is the premier right-handed hitting power bat that is likely to be on this trade block over the next 6 days. Whichever team acquires Eugenio Suarez, I believe, is going to pay a significant price for an impending free agent. And whether that means it's, a major league ready guy and a top prospect, or a major league ready guy and two top 10 or 12 type of guys, I think Eugenio Suarez is going to go for a pretty sizable trade package. And I don't think the Phillies are going to be the team to do that. However, with that being said, it is undeniable that Eugenio Suarez is the best power hitting bat available on the market. Let's take a look at Eugenio Suarez's numbers so far this season. There is a ton of really good, and then, of course, the one that has really kind of sat with me is the whiff rate and the strikeout rate, but we'll get to that in just a second. Again, unquestionable. Look at that slug in the OPS. He's at a near 600 slug and an above 900 OPS. No Phillies player other than Kyle Schwarber even comes close to those numbers. 36 home runs already this season, 86 RBI, 54 extra base hits, and you can see it, right? When he hits the ball hard. His average exit velocity is good. His barrel rates are good. His hard hit rates are good. There is no question about it. The pop for Eugenio Suarez is unbelievable, and it's legitimate, and it is real, and he's right-handed, and that is something the teams are going to be looking for in droves. There are going to be a ton of teams that are going to be interested in Eugenio Suarez, and somebody brought them up in the chat. The team that I think is going to end up acquiring Suarez is the New York Yankees. They moved Jazz Chisholm to second base. They have had kind of a turnstile at the third base position since then. And I think if the Yankees are going to go all in for a power bat, this makes way too much sense. Suarez is going to hit bombs at Yankee Stadium. Like, he's got 36 playing in a gymnasium. Like, that to hit home runs in Arizona is difficult. Eugenio Suarez is going to hit moonshots at Yankee Stadium because he is an elite power bat that I think is going to play extremely well at Yankee Stadium. So I do believe that Suarez ends up being a Yankee. But I do think the reason I bring this up is because, like, the scales, like when you're trying to balance how much you're willing to give up versus what you're getting in return, in terms of the player that Eugenio Suarez is, if you are strictly looking for the Phillies are missing a right-handed power bat in the middle of the lineup, that is as plug and play as it possibly gets. There is no better right-handed power bat than Eugenio Suarez that's going to become available. Now the downside. First and foremost, of course, he's on a contract year. So you're giving up a lot for a rental and a player that will head into his year 35 season for what is already a fairly aging team. That's the first part about this that may be a negative. The second part about this is, as I brought up, this guy swings and misses a lot. He strikes out a lot. For those that have clamored for a shift away from a home run-centric team to a better chase rate, better whiff rate, better, contact hitting team, you've gotten that this year. But what you've gotten that at is at the expense of the power from the lineup, right? Outside of Kyle Schwarber and Bryce Harper's power starting to return, I believe, and I would have to go look at it, outside of those two guys, the next highest home run total from a Philly, I'm fairly confident is Trey Turner. And Andrew, if you wouldn't mind maybe checking me on that, but I'm fairly confident it's Trey Turner has the third most home runs of the season. So if you're somebody who wanted them to go away from the power game and go to more of a centric, like a focused approach to what they've had for some of the season, then you're kind of swinging the pendulum back the other way. If you don't care about strikeouts, if you care about RBI, if you care about driving runs in, if you care about run production, then I see why you want a Eugenio Suarez. So the next part about this is the defense. The defense is bad. He's a -6 outs above replacement. He's in the 5th percentile in the range factor. He's not going to give you a whole lot defensively. And on top of that, you are also making a ton of defensive shifts because he's going to play third base. Take a look at his game logs, like his splits over this season specifically. It's been almost exclusively third base, and I'll find you those numbers in just a second. But he has basically been a third baseman through and through, or a DH, of course. But, I think in this instance, he's going to end up playing third. And the move would then have to be Alec Boehm to first Bryce Harper back to the outfield. Now, if you're somebody who doesn't care about moving Harper back to the outfield, if we've talked about that before, where he said if you acquire the right first baseman, I think he was talking about Pete Alonso at the All-Star, or in the offseason, then I think you don't care about moving Harper to the outfield and moving Bohm to first, and you kind of just say bleep defense on the infield, give me all the power that you've got. If you care about the moving parts, then this becomes something else to add on to the conversation. So Eugenio Suarez this season has played 98 defensive games. 98 have been at third. He's played 1,519 defensive games in his career. 1,311 of them have come at third base. And in fact, all but 40 of them have come at third base in the last 8 seasons. He played 170 some odd games at short to begin his career. He's not a shortstop. We all can recognize that. But he's played almost exclusively third base his entire career. So you're then talking about moving parts and moving defense. So here's how I'm going to end this. Again, I am going to say this. I do not believe the Phillies acquire Eugenio Suarez. I think he is going to be in New York if the Diamondbacks trade him, because then Derek followed up and said, their next show was, what if Eugenio Suarez stays and he ends up being a piece that could catapult their offense? So maybe he ends up staying with Arizona after all. But if the Diamondbacks do trade Suarez, I think the likeliest scenario is that he's going to end up being a New York Yankee. So the good of Suarez, power. Unbelievable power from the right side. The downside is not a great defender on his final year of his contract and strikes out a lot, or whiffs a lot, I should say. So if the power scale is that heavy, then you consider it. If it's not, if all the other things weigh a little bit into it, then I think the Phillies will probably end up looking elsewhere. Plus, I do think it's going to cost a decent return of prospects and young, MLB ready pitching than what the Phillies are going to want to look for. All right, it is the PHLY Phillies podcast. It is brought to you by our friends over at Bet365. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. I know that was a lot of rambling today, but we've had the Eugenio Suarez conversation throughout the company here a lot. I know Andrew, you guys have talked about it quite a bit on your show. And I think that it's a fair discourse to have, no question about it. But I don't question the validity that he's going to get moved. I more question the validity that the Phillies are the right pair for the Diamondbacks. All right, it's the PHLY Phillies podcast brought to you by our friends over at Bet365. On the other side, we'll get to our mystery trade player of the day. We'll check in with our new Ace Hardware Home Services segment. We are calling Cranking the Heat. We'll talk a little bit more about that in just a second, and we'll get you set for the Phillies and the Yankees starting this weekend, beginning at 7:05 tonight from Yankee Stadium. It's the PHLY Phillies podcast brought to you by our friends over at Bet365. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. We will be right back after this. All right, again, let's tell you about our friends over at Bet365. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365, and find out why 90 million users worldwide know that for a fact. You can live stream 780,000 events each and every year, and the best part about it is you'll get your early payout offers. We talked about it throughout all of the winter. The NHL and the NBA early payouts, well, now they are also offering Major League Baseball early payouts. If your team is up by 5 runs at any point, you get an instant payout on your straight bets and parlay selections that are marked as winners. All you have to do is download the app and use the code PHLY365 when you sign up. And when you use that promo code, you get $150 back in bonus bets when you bet $5, win or lose. Sign up, use the code PHLY365, deposit just $10, place your first bet for $5, and you get $150 back in bonus bets, and you can use that money on spreads, totals, player props, futures, and so much more. You'll find out why for yourself. It's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 and physically located in PA. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, please call 1-800-GAMBLER. All right, let's talk about the pros. The pros when it comes to flooring are, of course, our friends over at Empire Today. Because just like your favorite team needs a home field advantage, your home needs a home floor advantage, and that's where Empire comes in because they're the flooring experts. They're dedicated flooring professionals who focus on flooring every single day. You've all been to the big box store before. You wander the aisles, you're up and down, you don't know where anything is, you finally find what you're looking for, you didn't get enough help. Then you have to lug all the gear home by yourself and figure it out, get installation, get a contractor involved. It is a hassle. And if you're like me and you don't really know what you're doing or what you're looking for, that's where the pros come in to walk with you every step of the way. Empire wants to make this as seamless of a transition between your old floors and your new floors as possible. They're going to come to your house. They'll give you the opportunity to pick the right flooring and the right colors for your space. You're going to see how this new flooring looks with your furniture in your space. They're going to take precise measurements. They'll answer all of your questions with professional expertise, and you'll get all-inclusive upfront pricing, so you're not going to have to worry about hassling over the fine print details. You're going to know exactly what you're going to pay when you get ready to take on your new floor. So schedule a free in-home estimate today because some things are just better at home. PHLY listeners can get a $350 discount when they use the promo code PHLY. Restrictions do apply. Visit empiretoday.com/PHLY for full details. Hello to everybody back in the chat. What's up? Tyler Zula here. Andrew Frazier with you. It is the PHLY Phillies podcast. And by the way, I apologize to you, Andrew. This was my fault. I forgot to tell you that our opening segment, the deals that we were talking about and our hypothetical deals, are our big deal segment of the day, which is brought to you by our friends over at Cherry Hill Mitsubishi. If you want to get in on the best 7-seat SUV, the Mitsubishi Outlander is the place to go. It is the car to get, and Mitsubishi, Cherry Hill Mitsubishi is the place to go. Just minutes from all bridges in Philadelphia and the surrounding areas, or shop 24/7 at cherryhillmitsubishi.com. They're going to get you great APR financing. They're going to give you awesome guarantees and awesome warranties, including 10-year, 100,000-mile powertrain warranty and 5-year, 60,000-mile bumper to bumper. I know people buy Mitsubishis elsewhere. I just don't know why. Again, 24/7 shop cherryhillmitsubishi.com. That was our big deal segment to open up today's show. We're going to get to our mystery trade segment in just a second. I do want to say hello to everybody in the chat in a moment as well. But first, I want to welcome our second member of today's program, who we have not really had a chance to chat with just yet. That is our friend Andrew Frazier. Good afternoon, Andrew. A happy Friday to you. We have made it to another week.
Yes, we have.
The end of another week, or a weekend, I should say. And the hot stove is officially, I think it's turned on. I don't know. Do you use gas or do you use electric?
Gas if I can. Electric kind of stinks.
So my apartment is gas, and I am terrified of gas.
Oh, you are?
Terrified. I just have this innate fear of, like, I'm going to leave it on or something, and it just scares me. But gas stoves cook way better than electric stoves.
Oh, regulating the heat on a gas stove, so much better than electric. Electric, it's either super hot or it doesn't heat up at all.
Yep. Did you ever try to make, this is such off the topic, and we'll get back to baseball in a second. Did you ever try to make soup on an electric stove?
Oh, yeah. You got to stand next to it.
Dude, it sucks.
It's like 2 minutes. It's done.
All right, so I want to ask you, I would say that the stove is on.
Stove is on.
It's not heating up, just like, it's not like we're not in fuego yet. We're not on fire.
We're like on low.
But we're on a simmer.
Right?
Yep. We're simmering some good moves right now. The Gregory Soto deal today, the Josh Naylor deal yesterday. I want to ask you, Derek brought it up. I feel the same way. Does it seem to you that this is kind of the Arizona Diamondbacks opening salvo to the fire sale that's about to come?
Yes, it does. It seems exactly what it is that they are, fire sale time. And just so, like Call of Duty, fire sale.
With that being said, I would have to think Suarez is probably the most intriguing power bat available this trade deadline.
100%. I mean, he is, what was his home runs right now? What is it, at 35?
36 or something like that?
36, yeah.
80 plus RBI already this season.
He's the bat that everybody wants, you know.
Everybody wants.
You're looking for the right-handed batter. I was supposed to say right-handy. The right-handed batter, I mean, that's him, you know. So the Diamondbacks are in a good spot in that for the fire sale, and that they can shop.
Sure.
You know, and there's going to be a lot of teams that are going to be knocking on their door. The Yankees, obviously, are going to be one of those teams that you just mentioned earlier. The Phillies are definitely going to be another one of those teams. There's going to be a couple other teams that are going to be knocking on the door. So they have an opportunity to kind of sit there and be
I think the Cubs are going to be heavily invested.
Yeah.
And Michael Busch has been good for them. They sent down Matt Shaw early in the year. Michael Busch has been a nice surprise for them so far this season. 284, 20 home runs. I know he's playing more first, but I think that the Cubs will be very much interested. But there's going to be a ton of teams I think the thing too is with him, there's going to be a ton of teams that may want to say, "Hey, listen, we don't want to put you at third, but we want you in our lineup. You're our everyday DH."
Oh yeah, I mean, and he can do that. Look, like I said, they're going to be shopping, so prices are going to be high. And we talked about it the last show that we were on, and that the Phillies have 6 guys in the top 100 prospects.
Yes,
use some of them.
I think the expectation is at least one of those guys are going to get moved. I could see a scenario where 2 do.
Yeah,
I still do think they are going to hold Andrew Painter as close to the vest as they possibly can.
I get it. There's a lot of expectation for
Sure.
him to be, who we have all created this vision, this the imagination that we have in our heads about who Andrew Painter is going to become. And I get it. But, like, if you're in a win now mode, I don't think anything's off the table. And with Eugenio Suarez being the guy that he is, being that he's such a heavy hitter, he can get you those home runs. Obviously, he's going to be a rental. But, like, if you want to win this year, if the Phillies are really looking for, this is our World Series year, we know we can do it, we just need this piece, then who cares about, 5 years down the road, 3 years down the road? Let's get it done now.
Well, I think the one thing that has become abundantly clear, at least to the fan base, most fans believe this particular window lasts until 2027.
Yeah.
And the reason we give that exact number is because that's when we are expecting Zach Wheeler to retire.
Exactly.
He's made it pretty obvious that at the end of this contract, he wants to go be dad and be a family man. And I don't blame him, right?
Yeah.
I can't fault the guy for wanting to spend time with his wife and his kids. Like,
he's made his money.
But I think that has kind of put a little bit of an onus on this timeline a little bit, because they are going to end up losing probably the best pitcher that they've had since Roy Halladay.
Definitely.
And, and I don't say losing, right? He's going out on his own terms. He's not walking away, but he's walking away from the game. Like, they know that the top of their rotation is going to look different by 2028.
Yeah.
So I think, to me, I do believe they're going to continue to hold Painter very close to the chest because of that, plus with Ranger walking away, presumably walking away. Well, listen, they may say, hey, we're going to re-sign Ranger. We feel like it's a necessity. But understanding that there's a very strong likelihood that you could have 3/5 of your rotation look different by 2027.
Yeah.
Because Ranger may be gone. I don't know what their plan for Luzardo is. He's under contract he's got an arbitration year. He's under contract for 1 more year, but he becomes a free agent after next year.
He's kind of scary right now.
What's that?
He's a little scary right now.
And sure, I think there's some hesitancy for a lot of people right now, especially with the pitch tipping for the second time this year.
Yeah.
And of course, Wheeler is going to be gone after the 2027 season. So, I mean, there's a very realistic chance that this elite rotation that they have, which it is an elite rotation right now, 60, maybe even 80% of it looks different by 2028.
Oh, hands down.
You know, and maybe the only guy who's still in it by 2028 is Aaron Nola.
Yeah.
True. So I think that they're looking at the window as finite, not closed, and they also want to protect the future because they do recognize that they don't want. I think what the Phillies are trying their absolute best to do right now is not have the fall off the cliff half a decade or decade that they had from, what was it, like 2013 till 2018, when baseball was like it was a painful experience.
Yeah, it was painful.
They didn't end. I don't think they ever lost 100 games, but if you'd have told me they lost 100 games like 3 straight years, I'd have been like, yeah, that makes sense.
Probably happened.
They were dreadful for like 4 straight years.
Yeah.
So I think that's what they're trying to avoid this time around.
Sure.
Is not have that like enormous fall off the cliff fall where it happened, after they sold the farm. So they're going to be in a balanced mode. And the unfortunate part is, I think fans don't care about that. But at the same time, I've also seen fans who are trying to acquire players like a Eugenio Suarez and give up the 15th and 19th ranked prospect and be like, yeah, that's good, right?
Yeah.
You're cool with that, right? Like, you're trying to sandbag every GM like they're not GMs of Major League Baseball.
Yeah.
So it's a difficult balancing act where the Phillies are going to try their best to protect the future, but also not safeguard it too much because the future is unwritten.
Exactly.
Right? It's an undetermined answer.
And also, with that being said, you don't know what these guys are going to look like. Yet again, these guys are playing in AAA ball. They haven't come up yet.
Sure.
You don't know how they're going to translate to the majors. They could fall off a cliff themselves when they get up here.
Oh, it's certainly possible.
And
I mean, you go back to that last iteration, right? And we talked about the big time prospects, the Kyle Drabeks of the world, the Michael Taylors of the world. I've always talked about like Carlos Carrasco ended up probably being the best major leaguer out of the group, but it took Carrasco years to figure it out after being traded, right? Like Gavin Floyd was a can't miss prospect. They moved him and he was a fine major leaguer, but he wasn't great. Travis d'Arnaud has had the longest career of the group, but another guy who took years to develop, and he's become he's the type of guy that if Travis d'Arnaud's your backup catcher, you're like, yeah, okay, I'm comfortable with that spot.
Yeah.
But if Travis d'Arnaud's your starting catcher, you're not super excited about it.
Yeah.
So the group that came before, Dominic Brown, same thing. He was the one that they held on to and looked like he was going to be, like young Barry Bonds the first couple of months where he came up and was an all-star and fell off after that, right? So it is a difficult game to play.
Really?
When you're trying to figure out the future versus the right now.
Yeah, exactly. Because you don't know the certainties of it all. You don't know what these guys are going to become. You only know that, like in the case of Eugenio Suarez, we know what he is. We know what he can produce. He can produce you runs. Does he strike out a lot? Sure. Does he, but can he clobber the ball and get you a home run in a big time moment? He definitely
100%.
can. And, I don't envy the job of being a GM because it seems like especially right now for Dombrowski, it's such a hard decision to make because, like you said, you're looking at two perspectives, or you're looking at you're in a fork in a road, and you're like, okay, here we are. We can either win now and give up everything, or we can try to be more conservative in the fact that we know that we have a cliff coming in probably 2027. So we need to be able to, supply ourselves for that by not giving away too much of our farm. And it's so hard because I know for me, if I was in that situation, I'm right now. I don't care what these guys are, these prospects. Like, yes, I understand that there are possibilities with these guys, but I'm looking for that definite, this guy I know is going to win me these games. He's going to help me, get to the top. So it's tough for him. It's a really tough position, and I don't think really anyone knows the correct answer.
Yeah, and I think that you have the mentality of being rooted in objectivity with also having that fan base perspective of like, you got to try something, right?
You got to try something.
I think there is a wide sweeping feel across the city. Now, I would say I've seen this more on Twitter where people can hide behind an avatar and say whatever they want.
Yeah.
But I've seen on Twitter where people are like, this team sucks, blow it up, get rid of everybody, all the way to you got to do whatever you can right this second. And I think you found yourself somewhere in the middle, which is probably the right place to be. But I do think there has been a lot of pronounced opposition to either side of that pendulum.
Yeah, of course. You know what have answered these questions? What would have answered these questions is about a month ago, we brought up some of these guys just to see how they play in the majors. And then we could have made a better answer, because then we would have been like, okay, we know what Crawford looks like. We know what Painter looks like. Are we okay with keeping him now? Are we okay with moving on from him now? We would have had those answers, but we didn't get that opportunity. And now time's ticking where we only have, less than 10 days to a trade deadline, and we're going to have to, hey, this is the options that we have to take.
So we are 6 days away from the trade deadline. And I said this to you before, Andrew, and I still feel this way. And this is not me trying to take the easy way out or not take a stance on this matter. I genuinely have absolutely no idea what the Phillies are going to do.
Yeah.
No clue whatsoever. Do I expect them to acquire some players? Of course. All contending teams acquire somebody to help bolster their team.
Yeah.
If you told me that the Phillies were going to go get a middle reliever and a platoon left fielder, I might tend to believe you. If you told me the Phillies were going to take a swing for the fences type of move and go get a Clase or a Duran or somebody like that, I can see the validity to it. Like,
Yeah.
I'm, again, not trying to like sit on the fence here and not take a position, but I genuinely have no idea. I'm not going to like fan me wants them to say, let's make the move. Let's figure something out because you're heading in the wrong direction. Try to like buck this trend a little bit. But there's a part of me that says, I don't know what they're thinking.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm right there with you. You know, if you anyone listens to the Anthony Gargano show, you know, on that show we've been talking trade deadline for the last couple of weeks, and VG and Anthony bring up different guys almost every single day.
Yep.
Reason being because they don't even know. No one knows what the Phillies are going to do. We don't have no idea who they're looking at.
The only thing that we know is what the Phillies need, and what the Phillies need is an upgrade in the outfield, specifically either an everyday center fielder, or if you feel comfortable with Marsh Rojas platoon, an everyday left fielder, and bullpen help.
Yeah.
And those are the only known variables to this thing. The unknown variables are pretty vast. Who are they willing to part from? Who are they targeting? What kind of defensive positioning movement are they looking for? Because as we have this conversation, and I think here's the thing, I'm going to read this tweet to you in a second. The thing with these tweets from insiders and baseball writers and stuff like that, they all have, maybe not all, most of them have validity. And when I see a tweet from a Passan or a John Heyman or something like that, they're not just throwing stuff against the wall to hope it sticks. They've heard some things. Now, whether it's real or smoke and mirrors or somewhere in between, there is validity to them. Like, as I say this, John Heyman tweets out 2 minutes ago, Phillies are yet another potential fit for Eugenio Suarez with Bohm out and a need for a righty bat. Yanks, Mariners, Cubs, Reds, Astros, Tigers, Brewers all also are fits. So here's the thing. You break that tweet down, Andrew, almost into two parts. Phillies are a fit for Eugenio Suarez. Yes, they are.
Yes, they are.
Want the power bat, right? There's no question about it. And then Heyman adds on, so are the Yankees, the Mariners, the Cubs, the Reds, the Astros, the Tigers, and the Brewers.
Yep.
That is 7 other teams and 8 teams included with the Phillies. You're talking about 8 of 29 other teams. Like, we're talking about more than 25% of the rest of the league, not named the Arizona Diamondbacks, who are interested in potentially being fits for Eugenio Suarez.
Yeah.
First of all, that produces a lack of supply and demand because he is the only guy in terms of like premier power bats from the right-hand side.
Yeah.
And every one of those teams is either leading their division or has playoff aspirations, right? Tigers leading the Central, the AL Central. Astros leading the AL West. The Brewers leading the NL Central. Yankees, Mariners, Cubs, Reds, all in playoff positioning.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The Reds just on the outside. The other teams all within the postseason scope.
Yeah.
So what John Heyman's telling me here is, sure, the Phillies would be a fit. They want the power-hitting right-handed bat. But you know who else is a fit? Every other playoff team in the league.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's why I said earlier, the Diamondbacks are in a great position because they get to be shoppers in a great store where there are name brand items left and right that they can pick from because they can go to one of those teams and just be like, hey, we want this, 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 and this. You don't want to give it up? Okay, we'll go to the Yankees. We'll go to the Reds. We'll go to the Cubs. We'll go to whoever we can get that price that we want. So, you know.
Sure. All right, we'll do our mystery trade segment on the other side. We're going to get to that in full in just a second. Let's pause for just a moment. It is the PHLY Phillies podcast brought to you by our friends over at Bet365. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. We will be right back after this. All right, if you're looking for the most affordable 7-passenger SUV in America, CherryHillMitsubishi.com has you covered. It's the 2025 Mitsubishi Outlander. Take advantage of their incredible 60-month, 0% APR financing if you are a Pennsylvania resident. Or you can take home the 2024 Mitsubishi Mirage with incredible payments starting as low as $55 a week and $0 down retail. You're going to walk out with a certified pre-owned car for just a couple of bucks here and there. And then, you can't get a better deal than that if you're looking for a new certified pre-owned with, usually low mileage, no impact. It's been certified, tested, the 200 and some odd point inspection. That is the place to be. The Mitsubishi Mirage is the car that you are looking for. And you can combine that with the best warranty in the automotive business. As I said earlier, 10-year, 100,000-mile powertrain. And 5-year, 60,000-mile bumper to bumper. So why settle for a lesser warranty and be on the hook for those costly repairs down the line? Stop in today. Tell them that we sent you here at PHLY and receive a $100 restaurant gift card, restaurant.com gift card, just for taking a test drive or completing a trade appraisal. I know people buy Mitsubishis elsewhere. I just don't know why. Drive home today in your new Mitsubishi, just minutes from all bridges, or again, shop 24/7 at cherryhillmitsubishi.com.
Oh, Tyler, I walked into my garage yesterday and it felt like a sauna.
Dude, I got to tell you, even for somebody who loves summer, it's getting a little ridiculous out there.
Dude, I know. So, I got 10 bags of ice and I was going to make an ice bath because, the healing properties and all that stuff and just to beat the heat. But when I went to go make the ice bath outside, all the bags of ice melted.
Andrew, why didn't you just turn on your AC?
Because I'm trying to be energy efficient, Tyler.
All right, listen. Instead of trying to go through your new skincare routine, all you have to do is check out Pico's energy-saving rebates. They've got all of the deals on Energy Star cooling equipment that actually work and cut your bill.
Wait. So no more ice?
No, unless you're trying to do a polar plunge, you're good.
Now that's what's up.
Just head on over to pico.com/ways to save. They've got tips for everything. Heating, cooling, lighting, you name it. Oh, welcome back to the PHLY Phillies podcast. The stove is heating up, ladies and gentlemen. This is the beauty of live entertainment, if you will. We literally just talked about a team that I thought would be the bright fit for a Eugenio Suarez. Well, there's one less team that may be in the AU. Now, granted, they could still make the move. They're unlimited resources. But one less team that may be interested in Eugenio Suarez. Mark Feinzan reports breaking news. The New York Yankees are acquiring third baseman Ryan McMahon from the Colorado Rockies. Colorado, in exchange, will receive 2 prospects. Haven't heard who those prospects are just yet.
Man, oh man.
But, Andrew, my immediate thought, seems like it takes the Yankees out of the Eugenio Suarez conversation.
Yeah. They don't need a DH.
No, they certainly do not.
What other reason would they get him for,
Wow. So what this tells me is one of 2 things. A, they really like Ryan McMahon's defense. And B, 2, I'm going to look at his contract real quick because I believe he still has quite a few years left of his contract. B, they would rather acquire a guy with 2.5 years of contract left who is going to make $16 million each of the next 2 seasons, which is, that's nothing for a third baseman, an everyday third baseman. Then see what then they would to give up big time prospects for a rental. Now I will say this: Ryan McMahon is an intriguing player because I think Ryan McMahon is a good baseball player, but I also know that Ryan McMahon is having a dreadful offensive season. 217, OBP 314, slugging just over 400, whiff rates at 35%, strikeout rates at 32%. When he hits the ball, he's hitting it hard, 98th percentile average exit velocity. And, of course, a very, very good defensive third baseman. He's in the 91st percentile of outs above replacement this season. Last year was in the 92nd percentile. The year before was in the 95th percentile. The year before was in the 96th percentile. You get my point, right? Really good defensive third baseman. But has not had a very good offensive season, other than the fact that he does have 16 home runs, 16 of his 76 home runs, or 16 of his 76 hits, have been home runs. But as I said, nearly 32% strikeout rate. That is in the bottom third percentile across Major League Baseball this year. He has struck out 127 times this season already. These are Ryan McMahon's strikeout numbers over the last 4 years. This year, 127 in 100 games played. Last year, 185 in 153 games played. This year so far, first in the National League in strikeouts, fifth in the National League in strikeouts last year, second in the National League in strikeouts in 2023 with 198. The only guy with more strikeouts than Ryan McMahon in 2023, I believe, would have been Kyle Schwarber. But Ryan McMahon hit 23 home runs. Kyle Schwarber hit 40 home runs. A little bit of a different player there. 158 in 2022. So this is a guy who, over the course of the last 4 seasons, has struck out well over 500 times in 4 seasons. And, it has decent pop. And again, has hit 20-plus home runs. But a lot of the home runs, Andrew, have come in Colorado.
Yeah.
Where the air is thin and it's a lot easier to hit home runs. Now,
That's
I will
very
say
true.
this, talking about hitting at Yankee Stadium, it is fairly, it's one of the best hitter ballparks in the country.
Oh, yeah.
But like if you just use the adjusted expected home run numbers, this year he has 16. If he played every game at Yankee Stadium, he'd have 13. Last year he had 20, 23, I believe it was 20, excuse me. If he'd had played every game at Yankee Stadium or hit every ball at Yankee Stadium, he still would have had 20 home runs. So the power's okay, but I am a little intrigued by this move because I just assumed the Yankees were going to be in on the power bat. Frank Barber, appreciate the super chat. $5 from Frank Barber. Thank you so much. Yep, talking about it now. McMahon to the Yankees just announced. Yep, talking about it right now. Thank you for joining us. I appreciate you all. By the way, did not get a chance to say hello to everybody in the chat today. It's been a pretty crowded day talking-wise, but wanted to say hello to everybody in the chat. Peeling Onions, Frank Barber, Andrew, Molly and Barkley's Life, Dante. Let's scroll back a little bit. K-Red, Filthy McNasty. Who else did I have so far? Anybody I missed so far? Ray. If I missed you, I apologize. Thank you for being a part of the conversation. You are much appreciated, and we really appreciate you being here. But thank you for being a part of the conversation. Frank Barber, thank you for the super chat as well. Andrew, I like Ryan McMahon. I think he has value to a team, especially, again, defensively, just a super defender. Confused at this one a little bit.
Me too. I'm confused.
What up, Mickey Durkin? Good to talk to you again.
You rattling off his stats there. I don't really know. I mean, yeah, if defensive player, if that's what they're looking for, you got him. But like, if you're looking for an offensive player, you're gonna get your runs scored and all that. Doesn't really sound like he's the guy for you. But good on the Yankees, I guess.
So obviously, our cohorts at DNVR are doing a live emergency pod right now. I would love to know Christian's thoughts on this one.
Yeah.
Because they've talked about McMahon. Like, the Rockies, and you and I actually had this conversation the other day, probably about 2 weeks ago, when we did the Ace Hardware Temp Check segment. We talked about, like, just what are our thoughts on our team's buyers or sellers. And I made the joke about, like, the Rockies, anybody that's not kind of cemented to the floor, they're going to look to move. I thought McMahon, maybe not cemented to the floor, but, like, pretty close to it.
Yeah.
Being a part of that organization, like 2.5 years left of team control, fairly team-friendly contract at $16 million. But I guess he was one of the guys they felt like they could move. Now they have more guys that they could theoretically move. Jake Bird's the other one. I know his ERA has kind of gone up a lot over the recent weeks. Jimmy Herget is another one. It's a lot of bullpen help. It's the question of, like, would they move Victor Vodnik? Would they move Seth Halverson? But Ryan McMahon really was kind of the only position player that I thought might get moved. I guess the only other one might have been, it's funny to say, but might have been Mickey Moniak.
Yeah. He's having a great year.
He's having a really good season.
A really good year, yeah.
But I think that, like, those two guys were probably the ones that maybe and then, of course, like, they have some fringe bench players that, might have intrigued you 2 or 3 years ago. But my guess to me is that the Yankees felt like Eugenio Suarez was going to be too expensive.
Yeah.
And so they pivoted.
Yeah, and Andrew just actually brought that up in chat, and I was reading it and thinking the same thing. Maybe they just got scared off by the price. And like we just said, the Diamondbacks are in a position right now that they can ask for the world for him.
Sure, and they should.
And they should. And, so the Yankees probably were like, yo, no, we're not going to give up, X, Y, and Z for him. So they went to their next best, I guess, which was McMahon.
So here's what I think is going to end up happening with Suarez. The Diamondbacks are going to ask for the world, as they should. Teams are going to balk at the first offer. They're going to come in with a number. They're going to play the hardball bargaining game. And I think by next Thursday, if Eugenio Suarez is traded, I would bet you whatever the Diamondbacks are currently asking for, he's going to go for about 80 or 85% of that.
Yeah.
Which is still going to be a pretty good haul. But I think right now they're probably asking for a little bit too much. And they're the one holding the cards. They should ask for much.
They should.
That much.
Yeah.
And they'll pivot from there.
I think us as Phillies fans, we should, if this is a realistic move that Suarez is going to be coming here and be in the Phillies pinstripe here, you're going to have to expect probably Mick Abel, definitely, even maybe a Painter or, maybe a Crawford are going to be on the table for that deal. And we might have to settle with that, knowing that that's going to be the price.
Yeah, I think that Abel makes a ton of sense. Abel actually makes a ton of sense for a lot of teams.
Yeah.
Because he's has big league experience. Some good starts, some not so good starts. But, I don't think teams are going to look at 3 or 4 bad starts and be scared away. They're going to look at stuff, velocity, outside of that one start against the Padres, command was fairly good for the most part. They're not going to get scared away because of that Padres start. It was Ranger Suarez had a bad start this past weekend. Zach Wheeler's had some bad starts this year. It hasn't happened in a while, but he certainly has. I watched Sonny Gray go a complete game shutout the other day, and then a week and a half later give up 9 runs in two innings or something like that. These things happen across baseball. I don't think they're going to get scared away from it, but I do think Mick Abel probably intrigues a lot of teams. And it's why when you and I talked about Justin Crawford, I think Justin Crawford's in the same boat. There's a reason they're not calling Justin Crawford up yet, is because if they were to acquire somebody, they don't want to bring him up for 10 days or 2 weeks and then send him back down.
Yeah.
And I also think, too,
his price.
He may still be a trade target for a lot of teams.
Yeah, the hype. You don't want to bring him up, and then God forbid something were to happen where, he's looking really bad at the plate, and then his trade value goes down. Now, I have a question for you. It's
sure.
like a hypothetical.
Mm-hmm.
So now the big thing that everybody's talking about in the chat, and even I included, the worry is with Eugenio Suarez coming here is in fact a rental.
Sure, of course.
If you had, say you're the Phillies and you were going to the table and you said, hey, we'll trade for you, but you have to guarantee, a contract. We will get you for the next 2-3 years. What would be your selling point at that point? Would you give away more knowing that he would stay?
Those are so hard to do because you're negotiating in good faith with the player, but the actual deal with the team.
Yeah.
Right? And the team doesn't give a damn about your good faith negotiations. Because, quite frankly, if the Diamondbacks wanted him back, they could say, they could have a good faith negotiation and come to him and say, hey, dude, listen, we're trying to retool, going to get some prospects for you. We'd love to have you back. Let's have a conversation in November, and we'll figure out how to bring you back. A lot of handshake deals going on, right? A lot of snake stuff with, GMs are snakes. Let's call for what it is. They kind of have to be a little bit to be in their position. So a lot of snake stuff, a lot of slimy stuff happens, but I do think that it's a lot of handshake deal with a player to then go negotiate with a team.
Yeah. But
it's hard to.
But if you were guaranteed it, if you were guaranteed that, hey,
if you're guaranteed it, it makes the trade more palatable, without question.
Okay.
But I do again. Then you start to think about the future of: are you just moving Alec Boehm next offseason? With 1 year left of arbitration, are you looking to move him? Is Bryce Harper going back to the outfield, and you're comfortable with Boehm at first? I think Boehm's become a really serviceable third baseman. I still don't think he's a very good first baseman. I also do believe Bryce Harper has become a pretty darn good defensive first baseman. I also understand there's a need for another outfielder. There's a lot of things that you're trying to put together.
Yeah. Well, I think if you're making this trade for this year, you're making it on the notion that for a fact Harper's going to have to go back into the outfield
for the rest of the season.
For the rest of the season,
at least, correct?
Yeah. Now, moving forward, if you were to keep him for long term, and we're getting into weeds on this conversation, but, would you keep Harper there at first going into next year, knowing that you have Suarez at third and then move Boehm?
Move on from Boehm.
For an outfielder that, you'd feel comfortable with.
Yeah, it's there's a lot going into it. And I think we'll we'll have a better understanding of it in a couple days' time. But let's pause on the other side. We're going to get into our Ace Hardware Cranking the Heat segment. We're going to take a look around the National League and tell you which teams are heating up and cooling down. And we will wrap up today's episode as we continue to trudge along closer and closer and closer to the MLB Trade Deadline. It's the PHLY Phillies podcast right here on PHLY. We'll be back right after this. All right, let me tell you about our friends over at Ace Hardware. And whether it's something small like an outlet that you need to get fixed or something larger like plumbing, electric, heating, cooling, right? You need to get those things figured out, whether it's in the summer months now and your cooling's just not cranking out the cold air, or you want to worry about the winter months and you're thinking about, hey, winter's coming and our heater doesn't work and we don't want to sit and be cold inside our house. Head on over to Ace Hardware and AceHardwareHomeservices.com to get started on your next project. Ace brings that helpful hardware folks, those helpful hardware folks that you love from the store. They'll come right to your front door all the way from Philly to the Jersey Shore. They bring the helpful, but of course, they also bring experience. They bring understanding. They'll offer you free estimates on equipment installation and replacements with trusted advisors and options that are best suited for your home and budget. It's service you can trust, and satisfaction is guaranteed. And the best part about it is they are local. They live and work in your community. They want to make sure that your home is humming all year long. So once again, head on over to AceHardwareHomeservices.com to get started on your next project today. All right, let's tell you about the best ticketing app in all of sports, comedy, concert, theater, whatever it is. Of course, it is my friends over at Game Time. The NFL schedule is out, and you want to figure out, where am I heading to travel with the Birds this season? The defending champs, by the way. Where are you heading to see the Birds play on the road? Because I know if one thing I know about Philly and Philly fans, y'all travel extremely well to road games in the NFL. You're going to know exactly the ticket that you're getting. It comes to you quickly and easy, and you'll get exclusive discounts that will help you find great seats to all games, road and home, for as low as $100. And the Game Time guarantee means you can trust that you'll get 100% authentic NFL tickets on time and at the best price. Plus, your fees are always included, so what you're going to pay is exactly what you see. No hidden costs, no hidden fees tacked on at the very end as you're entering your credit card information. Game Time wants to make the ticketing purchase as smooth and as easy as possible. So what you're going to do is download the Game Time app, use the promo code PHLY, and you'll get $20 off your first purchase. Terms to apply. Again, create an account, use the code PHLY, and get $20 off your first purchase. Download the Game Time app today. Last-minute tickets, lowest prices, guaranteed. All right, welcome back to the PHLY Phillies podcast. Tyler Zula here with you, Andrew Frazier as well, and a really active chat today. Some people talking about which prospects to move, talking about the potential of acquiring a Eugenio Suarez, and what does that mean defensively? What would you give up? I know there's some people in the chat that say, no, absolutely not moving Aiden Miller. And I've seen some people talk in the chat about Aiden Miller and say he's been performing. It's been an underwhelming season statistically for him. And this, Andrew, kind of goes back to what we've talked about plenty already on today and throughout the months. There is such a polarizing feel to the fan base right now when it comes to these prospects.
No, really, there is.
All right, we are going to get into our Ace Hardware cranking the heat segment in just 1 second. But before we do that, I want to say, if you're watching on our streaming platforms, our Roku or Samsung, any of our streaming platforms, first and foremost, thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate it. Head on over to allphly.com to catch the rest of the show, because we are officially in overtime. All right, welcome into the overtime extra inning session, if you will. We're going to get into our Cranking the Heat segment, brought to you by our friends over at Ace Hardware and Ace Hardware Home Services. It is the pennant push, as we are now closing in on the trade deadline. Of course, we're getting closer and closer towards the end of the season, and we're going to take a look at the standings, the National League standings, tell you where everybody sits, and tell you one team that's heating up, one team that is cooling down, as we take a look at the National League standings for the first time in our Cranking the Heat pennant push segment. Here are your division winners, your wild card teams as well, and of course your teams that are right now in the hunt for the wild card standings. Of course, the team that's heating up is the one that's at the top of the standings right there. It's the NL Central leading Milwaukee Brewers, winners of 9 of their last 10. Here's what they've done in recent series. They've taken 2 out of 3 from the Seattle Mariners, playoff team. Swept the Los Angeles Dodgers, playoff team. Swept the Washington Nationals, not a playoff team, did what they were supposed to do. Swept the Los Angeles Dodgers again. They've taken 6 games from the Dodgers in the last 2 weeks. And then 2 out of 3 from the Miami Marlins. So they've won 9 out of their last 10. They've only lost one series in the month of July. They entered the month of July, Andrew, at 47-37, and right now they are 61-40. They are 14-4 in their last 18 games. And in the month of July, the Milwaukee Brewers have the third most stolen bases, the fourth best on base percentage, the fifth most hits, and the seventh most runs scored. That's offense. Let's take a look at the defense. They're one of 2 teams this month to have a sub-1 WHIP as an organization. They've given up the fewest hits. They have the 4th best team ERA, the 3rd fewest walks allowed, and the 7th most team strikeouts. I say this every year, it feels like, Andrew, where I go, man, the Brewers they're okay. They got a decent staff, but like that roster's underwhelming a little bit. Like, whatever. All this team does is win games.
Yeah.
And all they are every single year is a playoff contender.
Yeah,
now, I don't sit here and say I think they're a World Series contender every year. Maybe this year's a little bit different. But like all this team does is exceed your expectations every year.
Yeah, they really are always in the conversation year after year. They're just like, they just remind me of like an old school baseball team,
Sure.
where it's not like we're big, heavy hitters getting dingers. We're just on base guys, and we're going to find ways to score, and we're just going to beat you that way.
They are a just like, as you brought up, kind of just that team that, does all the little things fairly well.
Not flashy.
Yeah.
Not like stand out. They just do everything right. It's just like it's like golf. They play that conservative golf. That
Grandpa golf.
Grandpa golf.
Yep.
Exactly. It's like it's not crazy looking, but like you get the job done.
Like they have one guy right now, and it's Christian Yelich, who has struck out over 100 times this year. I mean, in a game where no team right now is hitting over, I think, 264 was the number or something like that. There's like no teams that have that number.
Yeah.
They have a team average of 250, which in today's day and age is like, you're doing something right. Sal Frelick, 294. Bryce Turang, 279. Jackson Churio, 269. Like, they're not jumping off the page at you, but they're just a consistent team. They have 4 guys who have double-digit home runs. They have 5 guys who have at least 40 RBI. They have 6 different players with double-digit stolen bases. And you're right, they just do like the little things well. And their pitching staff has been good this year. I mean, obviously the big story is Jacob Mizorowski because he comes in and just starts throwing smoke. But like Freddie Peralta has been Mr. Consistent over the last couple of years. Quinn Priester has been really good. 101 innings pitched in his 19 appearances, 14 starts, 3.2 ERA. Jose Quintana's back and pitching well since returning from the IL. And their bullpen, my God, their bullpen throws hard.
Oh yeah, they do.
And here's the thing too. Over the last couple of years, they've traded Devin Williams, they've traded Josh Hader, and instead they just continue to bring up guys. Abner Uribe, just flamethrower. Jared Koenig, flamethrower. Aaron Ashby throws hard. Like this is you talk about velocity. That bullpen brings it on a nightly basis.
Yeah, no, they do.
That's our team that's heating up, and they deserve it. Now let's talk about a team that's cooling down really quickly in their own division. It's the St. Louis Cardinals. The St. Louis Cardinals have lost 13 of their last 19 games, and they have fallen out of the wild card standings, and they're now 2.5 back in the hunt, but 2.5 games back. They're behind the Reds and, of course, behind the Giants, who trail the Padres by a game and 2 games, respectively. Over the last couple of weeks, the Cardinals have been swept out by the Pirates, swept out by the Rockies, losers of 2 of 3 to the Cubs and the Braves, split with the Rockies. Their only series win since these series have started was 2 out of 3 against the Washington Nationals. They have the 3rd fewest runs scored in Major League Baseball. They also have the 3rd worst team ERA in July, the 4th most hits allowed, the 5th most home runs allowed, and the 6th fewest strikeouts to go along with the 6th worst WHIP. The St. Louis Cardinals are heading in the wrong direction right now. They were 47 and 38 before that number was tracked. They're now just 2 games over 500 and really heading in the wrong direction. So that is the team that's cooling down. And you would think that's probably good for a team like the Phillies, who are interested and been tied to Ryan Helsley for a really, really long time. I think we're finally starting to get some of these teams, Andrew, who are going to have to announce at some point, are they going to be buyers or sellers at the deadline?
Yeah.
And I think the Cardinals may end up being, I would say the Cardinals will probably be soft sellers. They've got some good young talent.
Monday.
Monday's
I feel like Monday.
point.
Yeah, you go through the weekend series with whatever team you're playing. You see how you go through that, and then Monday is when we're saying
they've got
buying or selling.
3 with the Padres this weekend.
Okay.
If the Padres take 2 of 3, and the Cardinals fall to 54 and 53, I think that should probably tell you that they're done.
I don't want to root for the Padres in that situation, but let's go Padres.
All right, that is the end of our Ace Hardware temp check segment, our Ace Hardware cranking the heat pennant push segment, as we'll do that each and every Friday, as we'll give you a look around the National League, tell you teams that are heating up or cooling down. And, of course, we will do that right here on the PHLY Phillies podcast. That's going to do it for our Friday episode of the PHLY Phillies podcast. A big thank you to everybody who was in the chat today. It was a super lively chat. I can't thank you all enough for being a part of today's show. Just 2 more live shows to go and 6 more days as we get closer and closer to the Major League Baseball trade deadline. We'll be back with you on Monday afternoon at 1 o'clock. Here's our schedule for next week. Just a reminder, 1 o'clock on Monday, 1 o'clock on Wednesday, and, of course, 1 o'clock on Friday. But in between, we will have a 2-hour live trade deadline show. Myself, Andrew Frazier, Rich Hoffman will be live in studio from 5 until 7 o'clock as we will get you the latest on the trade deadline and then talk about everything that happened after the trade deadline passes. So 4 live shows next week, 3 at our normal 1 o'clock time, and, of course, Thursday, 5 to 7 for our trade deadline special. Again, big thanks to Andrew Frazier for producing today's show and co-hosting it with us as well. And a big thanks to all of you in the chat. Really appreciate you all. Have an excellent weekend. I hope you enjoy the Phillies and the Yankees starting tonight. Taijuan Walker on the mound versus Will Warren. And then, of course, it will wrap up the series with a really good one, Zach Wheeler and Carlos Rodon on Sunday night as well. So we'll talk to you on Monday at 1 o'clock. Have an excellent weekend, and we will see you next week right here on the PHLY Phillies podcast. See ya.
We all silly like the mayor.